And welcome to another episode of The Focal Thought. My guest today is Hiren Patel. How are you, Hiren?
Very good. How are you, Crichton?
Good, good. Thanks for coming on the show. I'm excited to speak with you today. Hiren, so you are the co-owner at Manitou Springs Resort and Mineral Spa, the co-founder at Kite Insurance Solutions, and CEO and co-founder at Affinity Mortgage Solutions Incorporated. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I wanted to speak to you about the subject matter of business today. You
hmm
are Canada's own Dragon's Den. You've got a lot of experience in business. And before we get into that, there's a valuable story that I must bring up. And this has to do with how we met. So I actually joined a team at one of the big six banks in Canada.
hmm
And our current manager at the time, you were my colleague, announced his resignation and he was moving up the corporate ladder. So we had a farewell dinner the next day for him and you were seated beside me. And good thing, I minded my manners because the day after that, it was announced that you were going to take over the team. So I think that's an
Yes.
important lesson for a lot of people. Mind what you say when you're around your colleagues. You never know who's going to be where next. And this was really good because you actually took the team, which was about 12 people at the time, to about 40 people. And, in banking terms, you took it from 250 million annual funding to almost over a billion in funding. And this is in less than 3, 4 years. So that's quite an achievement. So I wanted to ask, because you didn't always start in business, you do come from a culture, from Gujarat, and Gujaratis are
Mhm.
known to be very rich in entrepreneurship. And, you did sort of do your MBA in Australia. So maybe you can talk a bit about how you got into the business world.
So as I said, like come from family of business owners, right?
Yeah.
And working in a job or a salaried role never came into our mind, even when we were studying, right?
Yeah.
So once I did my MBA, I went back home into India and started a business.
Yeah.
That was my first business, and that was mining of granite stone and polishing, cutting, and selling it, right?
Yeah.
For in the construction industry. So that was the first business. Learned a lot of skills there. We started from the scratch. So which was learned entrepreneurship, the basics of entrepreneurship from there. Actually, how to set up a business, like how to run it. When I came here after 4 years to Canada, I immigrated to Canada. So I sold that business and was a successful venture. So business was always in mind. And when you
Yeah.
come to Canada and you're brand new, obviously you need to get settled into a certain place before you can explore business opportunities.
Yeah.
So started working here and there, like worked for Tim Hortons, worked through newspaper in the morning, did whatever it took to feed my family. And then I studied, and then when I studied, I got into CIBC, like one of the big banks, right? And started my career into banking from there, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so always, but still, business was always in mind. And My parents had some convenience stores here, so we knew how to do business and stuff like that. But yes, as soon as possible, when I got an opportunity that I thought that my career is stable financially, I'm stable, right? I
Yeah.
left the job and then we started Affinity Mortgage Solutions, which we started with 5 agents, and we have about 230 agents today with 3 offices. It's one of the top 10 brokerages in the country. So worked really, really hard for 5 years to build this business. And along with that, now that I was financially independent a little bit, so I took some risk and started a lot of other businesses on the side as well, which is into hotel business, some gas stations, construction projects, and some retail restaurants and stuff like that. But that's what we explored. I always learned that it was never good to have all your eggs in one basket. So diversified the industry. I had different projects in different industry, and learned, right? And I was always keen to learn every kind of a business, and worked in a banking environment, gave you that insight because I was a commercial account manager for a while. So I always got that insight on how operations are done in a business, and it was a topic of interest. So you always learn from other business owners what they are doing, how their business operates, and stuff like that. So over a period of years, gathered that knowledge, and you always had that entrepreneurial spirit. So brought everything together and then started business. So obviously, luckily, every business that we started has been a success till now, right? So that is one lucky part of it.
And I would say, I mean, from knowing you, maybe 20% is luck, but the 80% is the hard work and the effort that you put in. I mean, your work ethic is second to none, like working on weekends and weekdays, and you're always on the ball. Even when you're out of office, you're still answering messages on the phone. And so definitely luck is there, but preparation and opportunity, I think 80% is what you're doing, which is why your businesses are successful.
Absolutely. And see, the thing is, Gordon, like we learned this, like that only thing in your hand is hard work, right? And give your best to anything that you start. And like if you do that and you do it with your full heart, that is eventually going to be successful. There is no way that it will not be successful if you have given your best to it, you worked hard for it, and you work with ethics, honestly, doing the best that is possible for everybody associated with that business, including your customers, your employees, your stakeholders, your partners. Like, if you have the best intentions of doing good for everybody, I do not see that there is any way that any business will be unsuccessful.
Correct. Now, with your first enterprise getting into the mining business, I mean, I'm reminded of Peter Monk from Barrick Gold, who got into the mining business of gold. And prior to that, his experience was in audio hi-fi systems. So very, diverse industries. So how
Yes.
does one get into the mining business without any experience?
So see, it's again like that's what I always learned this in my life very early. You don't need to know everything, right? But you
Yeah,
should be ready to learn everything. So
nice.
that someone told me about that business. I did a little bit of a research, put few months on the road learning about that business, and I thought that was a really really profitable business. So what I did was I went out and looked for a partner who had that knowledge. So I got to know one of my friend's brother who worked in that industry for many years. So we partnered with him, gave him some stake in the business, and then we worked hard. And then eventually in 6 months to a year, you learn yourself, right? So obviously, I would say knowledge of a business should not be a factor affecting you or stopping you from going into that industry. As it is, like we come fresh into this world and we learn everything here. So what, if there is a business which is making money and we don't know it, it's an opportunity to know something, right? So
Got it. And I've always felt because we hear on social media, on those channels that, take your passion and turn your passion into the business because then it won't feel like work. So a lot of people
yes.
make the service is the passion or the product is the passion. But here you are with your diverse, portfolio of businesses that, are very diverse in terms of industry and product and service. So for you, I don't think the passion is the product as much as it's maybe the process of the business or the systems of the business.
So for me, passion is the business, right? So I mean, doing business is my passion, right? I don't care what business we are doing, right? As long as there is a business that I can learn something, I can do something where I can improve lives and quality of life for maybe some employees who work there. I can give opportunity to people where, we all can make money and be successful, right? By running the company successfully. I'm
Yeah.
all in it. So for me, doing business is the biggest social service I can do in my life, right? I can bring up, so for example, if I can hold hand for someone and bring his career to a different level, different heights, and show him how to make money and to make money for him, right? That will
Yeah.
be the best thing, because now you're raising a bar for the whole entire family. You change their lifestyle, right? So that is the biggest social service I like, and that's my passion. So I obviously, for me, product is not a passion. Like for me, the business itself is a passion, right? So
Correct. No, and you can see that echo. And, even in my personal interactions with you, your business makes money. The
yeah.
clients benefit from that, but even the employees under you, they're also making money. Their livelihood has improved because of you. And I can see that effect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is nothing more satisfying than seeing that, you help to change someone's life, right?
Yeah. Because you're not only making yourself money, you're making other people money. Usually entrepreneurs are focused on themselves, right?
But
But you
Koi, like,
take this
listen,
second
so
level.
the thing is, my profit or my money is a byproduct of my employees, honestly, right? If they are making money and they are happy, I'm gonna make money for sure, right?
Yeah, it's win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. I never have to count my money because if they are making more, I'm gonna obviously make more, right?
And I really like how, I mean, you do this naturally. You treat everyone like family. And we can see that in the office day to day. People gather for lunches. The relationship you have, I wouldn't even call them employees. I would say family. The way you treat them on trips, in the office, at conventions. Is that something, I mean, someone taught you, or you just naturally, do that, or?
No, I think this is a culture that we inherit, right? Like, back home where we work, like, everybody who works for you is your responsibility because that's a part of your family. They need help, then they only have you to look up to, right? So
Yeah.
that's the culture we grew up in, right? And that's what we brought it here, that what, everybody who works with you or for you, or you, even if though they are partners, they are your shareholders, they are customers, they are like extended part of your family, right? So if they are in trouble, then they look up to you, and then it's your responsibility to see if they are taken care, right? I mean, obviously you can't help everybody with everything, but you try your best, right? And as far as possible you help. And again, the whole objective is to give, not to get, right?
Yeah.
That
No, that
once you
makes
give
sense.
people, like, what, you will automatically be taken care, like,
Got it. And many religious works have spoken of the same principle, right? Treat others as you want to be treated, and then give
absolutely.
others as you want to receive, right? So
Yes.
with you mentioned family and the influence that your parents have. Maybe you could speak a bit of the influence the parents have given you, because I remember being in the car with you once, and some underwriter had called about a file, and the file was on fire, and we're trying to put it out. And suddenly, in the middle of that call, your mom called and asked if you were coming home for tea. And you very sweetly spoke to her and said, "Yes, I'm coming. I'll see you soon." And you took care of that file. And then even your dad, I remember your dad was planning a world trip once, and you actually offered to help him, financially set up the schedule and the routine. But he was very firm, and he said no, he was going to handle it himself, right? So that
Yeah.
speaks volumes about your parents. Maybe you can speak a bit about the influence they've had on you.
So my parents were farmers basically, right? They came from a farming background and very, very hardworking people. Honestly, worked very hard into the village, came to the city, established themselves into the city. My dad actually started a couple of businesses and failed really miserably, right? So probably he was a very, very hard worker, but I think he was not that like, that sense of business was not there in him, right? And
Yeah.
then he moved to US, and then he started business over there, convenience store businesses, and he had a couple of convenience stores, right? And that was very successful, right? So but it was full labor, like, he worked really, really 5 in the morning to 11 at night, 365 days. So you inherit that passion about business, you inherit that hard work, like you see someone role model, like, where who is working so hard to make it successful, right?
Yeah.
And so it naturally comes to you that, what, if he is doing this, we should do it. Unfortunately, he was not that educated, like, and he could not convert it into a bigger ventures, like, but we got education, we were formally trained into management. So obviously you take that hard work from him, you take the education and experience that you got from your knowledge of education, right? And you
Yeah.
mix it up and you do better for yourself, right? And again, every generation will do a little bit better than the previous generation, right? So
And that's the thing, to step on the shoulders of giants and take it and evolve it and make it bigger and better, right? With each generation.
absolutely, absolutely, right. I mean, honestly, that's what you expect from your kids also, like, whatever we have done is there, but like, we expect them to build on it, like, the base is built, now they just need to build the house, right? So
And how do you like pass this on to your kids now? Because you've taken it a step up from your parents, and
yes.
honestly, your kids won't have the same adversities as you had, because you've brought that level up. So do you forcibly bring them through adversity, or how do you train them to sort of go through the same teachings you have?
So technically it is not something formally that you ever discuss with your kids, but
Yeah.
you surround them in an environment where they see this every day, right? Whatever happens during the day, we come and discuss at home on the dining table. Like kids listen to it, right? And they eventually learn it. They capture. Kids are actually, mirror image of what you are, right? Honestly.
Yeah.
So, in your house, you talk business 24 hours. My both kids wanted to go into finance and business. Nobody wanted to go to medical or any other sciences, right? So that was natural. We never told anything to them to select anything. Like till today, I mean, I don't interfere into their education, right? So, but the environment they are surrounded in, that makes a lot of difference, right? And someone told me once, like, you really want to be successful, then you need to change your circle that you are surrounded with, like, because you will be only to the circle that you are surround yourself with. Like, so if I want to do a couple of $1 million deals and I have all my friends and business partners who are into the same genre, right? I want to do a $50 million deal or a $100 million deal. I need to change the circle and go into that circle where people only talk about 50 million and $100 million deals, right? So it's all about how you grow up, what your surroundings are, and you learn from there, right? So
correct. And how easy it is to change the circle?
no, I mean, in a life, like I learned something, like if you really want to do something, you'll start thinking about it. Automatically, you will start to make those kind of connections. Like, you start looking out for those connections, right? And it happens. But everything starts from a thought process. Like, if you have a thought process, this is where I want to be, your subconscious mind automatically starts thinking about that thing only whole day, right? And then you find out ways and means of how to go there, right? So it is all about how dedicated you are and how desperately you want to do it, like.
No, that's very true. And then the law of attraction sets into effect, and
absolutely right. Yeah, you attract the same kind of people, right? So
like attracts like, and that's the physics part, I guess, right? That you studied.
Yeah, absolutely right. So
a lot of the businesses you've co-founded, you've partnered with people that, are rich in experience, wealth of knowledge. How do you choose a partner to work with? Because, people will apply for a job. They might, have an interview process and you really don't know. They'll put on their best presentation, but you don't really know till they're, in the job itself. And, by that time it might be too late. But when you're selecting a business partner, what are some, thoughts you have on that? I've always thought, the best thing to do when selecting a business partner is ask them to show you 6 months of their bank accounts, and you'll see, the cash flow, how, it's a representation of their mind, right? And that's one way you can qualify them. But I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on that.
No, I have a different concept when I select business partners. I want to give an opportunity to people who are near and dear to me, right? Always. So all my best friends are my business partner, family is business partners, like, cousins, brothers, and stuff like that. Because I believe that, if there is an opportunity which I really firmly believe in, I want to extend that to my friends, right? So people who are really near to me, those are the ones that I take those opportunities and discuss it with them. And my theory is that we all grow together. If I am alone at the top, it's a very lonely place. I want company there, right? So I want to make sure that my best friends are also there, my family is there, and we all grow together. Like, it's fine. Like, I alone make money and go somewhere, it's not going to be happy, right?
Correct. And especially in the type of work we do, it's lonely at the top every day, right?
Yeah, and you need good friends always along the way, right? So like most of my businesses are with 4 of my best friends. Like, we 4 friends have been there forever, and they are my business partners in most of the business. Some other businesses, I have my cousins, a couple of cousins who are partners into that business. So if you really believe that there is an opportunity in a business, why don't extend it to someone who you really like and trust and want to spend your life with, like, so.
And what if they're not, what if they're not, mentally business inclined? Would you change the role that they have, or would you train them in business, or?
No, so basically, like, when there is an opportunity, you have to discuss it with them, right? And you obviously want to have their, you want to check it out if they are passionate about it or they'll bring something on the table. So for example, like, my skills are to go find new businesses, analyze them, make offers, get the deal done and close it, right? That's my passion. I don't like too much on operational side. So I have a couple of my partners who are very, very good at operation, but they would not know anything how to find a business or analyze if this business is profitable or would be good or bad, right? So you gather those kind of strengths where you find yourself a weakness, right? So I mean, obviously we all take care of each other, right?
And especially with something like operations, you want someone you can trust. So I think the trust comes foremost, them having any sort of business training, right? Because you can always
And
teach business, but you can't teach
and
trust.
yeah, and you know what? Like trust, who would you trust more than your childhood friends? Like
Yeah.
we were friends when we had nothing in life, right? So it
Yeah.
was such a innocent friendship, right? Where there was no expectation from each other, right? So I
Yeah.
think those are the best people that you should always you'll always trust. Like, you know what, there is no issues at all, right? Like, I mean, they will do anything for you, right?
Correct. And we hear it also repetitively from people like, say, Cristiano Ronaldo. Even, the other day I heard Snoop Dogg talking about it. Their circle of friends, maybe three, four people at most. And these are
Yeah,
the people who they've known since childhood. These people don't care about the wealth and the fame they've achieved. They just want to hang out and be good friends. And these are the people they trust because you need family trust in your life, right?
absolutely. I mean, you cannot work a day without trusting someone.
Yeah.
And you need to surround yourself with really good people if you really want to be successful in anything in life, like, what, business or any kind of sports passion, like, any activities. You need to trust, right? And you need to surround yourself with people who you really can trust.
Got it. What is some of your thoughts on calculating risk? When you're looking at a new business, when you're analyzing, the business, how do you calculate risk? And then, how do you decide, okay, I'm going to take this risk? Because I know, your peers who are maybe, on your level, maybe have more money than you, more opportunity, but I don't see them take the same risk that you do. And sometimes, that's the make and break of a successful business is pulling that trigger and taking the risk at the end of all the analytics, right? So what are your thoughts on calculating risk?
Business, there is two kinds of way you analyze business, right? Number one is you look at financials and do in and outs, and you do all the calculations and ratios and stuff like that. That gives you a picture. And there is something called gut feeling, like, you go to the business and look at it, like, yeah, numbers are numbers, but I'm getting a positive vibe with this place. I think this will be a really good place and will be a successful business. And I am a firm believer of gut feeling. I go by my gut feeling, and I look at, and I do analyze numbers, but those are something, if I cannot count my numbers on my fingers, then I don't go into that business. Like, I don't rely on financial statements. That are books can be cooked, right? So
Yeah.
you need to actually get a feel of the business. And unless you get a feel of the business, then you're not going to be making a right decision, right? So
Has your gut ever been wrong in the past in any business? Or?
yeah, I think every business I buy, I just go by my gut feeling mostly, right? So, but I'm telling you, like, there is a calculation at the back of the mind,
Yep.
not a formal way of calculating it, but the way you are grown up, the way you experience, your mind will automatically do calculations, right? And then the gut feeling comes from there, actually, right? So I mean, it does say it's from the heart, but it's actually like, the mind has done all the calculations and send it to the heart, right? So right.
Got it. And that the mind and the heart working together with the gut. So that's really
Absolutely,
good
right?
system.
Absolutely, right? Because unless you believe it and you really feel from the heart that, this is something that I really want to buy and I think this will be successful, that's the only time, you'll really do it, right? So
Got it. And what are your thoughts on scaling up? Because I mentioned earlier, when we were at the bank, you scaled up that team from 12 to 40, and the targets went through the roof. Even now with Affinity Mortgage Solutions, with your co-founding partner, you started at 12. I think we're at, maybe 250 employees. And again,
yeah.
volume has scaled up. It's not easy to scale up, right? So what is your approach to scaling up a business?
So I think, as I said, like, scaling up any business in today's world, if it is, you need to scale up, number one, because there is economies of scale. Okay.
Yeah.
You cannot have a small business, really small operations, and expect bigger results. The reason is, if you scale up, there is going to be more volume, there is going to be more employees, there is going to be more, like, it is a bigger company. So anybody who wants to deal with it, it's law of attraction. If you are successful, people want to deal more with you, right?
Yeah.
So you need to scale up, right? And then from day one, you need to have a plan where you want to be in 5 years of time, right? And you work on that plan. And scaling up is the biggest factor in any plan, because your revenues will only go up if you scale up. Otherwise, you know what? The revenues will be stable in second, third year, and then there will be no growth. And the day the growth stops in any business, that's the day the business is dead. That's it, right?
Correct.
So
Growth, no growth equals decline, right?
yeah, absolutely. So you need to plan growth every day, right? And you should be having a 5-year plan every time. Scaling up, it takes a lot of dedication, honestly, right? A lot of vision, but it's not impossible. Like, you know, if you break it down into smaller targets, and if you break it down into smaller activities, right? Definitely, I mean, you know, scaling up should not be a problem. Just to give you an example, if you want to do $1 billion funding this year, right? I mean, you scale it up, like what does it come up to? Number of deals, like, you know, maybe 1,000 deals. To do 1,000 deals, how many agents do you need? If an average, like maybe 20% of your guys will do more business, 80% will be average, like, you know, so if you count maybe 10 deals per person, like, you know, or 5 deals per person, if you count it that way, it's very easy to understand where you have to be to get your bigger goal, right?
Got it. Yeah. And then we also have to include a buffer zone there, right? For your plan of action for your targets, for maybe some people that don't hit targets, or, you know, variables in the market, the economy, things like that.
Obviously, like, you know what, when, like, for just classic example is 2023. We all knew 2023 was going to be a challenging year, right?
Yeah.
In terms of volumes. So I'll give you the numbers. So last year, whatever we ended up in terms of volume, right? This year, we are exactly at that number. And if you see all our competitors, all the other brokerages in the industry, they are 40% down, right?
Yeah.
So how did we do it? We just understood this, that the year is difficult in last year only. So last quarter of the year gave us a sample of what the next year is going to be. And we pressed the pedal on hiring. We said, okay, let's get more agents, right? And then, like, you know, so last year the agents were 150, this year 230. So we increased the agent by 80 agents, right? Which is roughly about what, like maybe about 30-40%, right? And that way we catch up to that 40% of the volume, right? So we are lucky that we are having the same volume, right?
And then next year, when the market, you know, gets better, it just automatically increases, right? Based on the foundation.
And obviously then we have a nice base now set up, right? And then we are ready for the next level, right? So we expect 30-40% increase in our volumes from what we are right now, right? So
amazing. Do you have like a daily routine you do, like some, you know, entrepreneurs or people? Like morning routine?
So no, I think there is no set routine, but my only thing I do in routine is I am in office every day at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Whether it's rain or shine, I am there 9 o'clock and I'm in office 9 to 5.
I know, even if you come back from a trip Sunday evening, you're there in the office next day, 9 o'clock.
I am there. Like, that's my biggest routine, because I only get business thoughts when I go into office. You stay home, you're not going to get those thoughts. You will be worried about more eating and drinking and talking about kids and all this, right? So, you know, I need a professional environment. So I go to office. That's where I sit on my table and I get my planning, what need to be done and what not need to be done. So,
and I remember even when you left the bank, the first thing you did the next day was you went to the office, even though there was no office to go to, because again, that got you started thinking about the next level, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know what? One thing I firmly believe in, I do not count my losses, right? So if I have never regretted on a loss. If I had a loss of $200,000 today, I will not even think one day about it. Like, you know, I'll be starting to thinking same minute about it. How do I recoup $200,000 and where do I recoup from? So, you know, I always take a positive approach to everything in life, right? Yeah. And I'm one of those people who never see anything negative into anything. Like, you know, just take it whatever it is and just move on it with it, right? So.
No, that's good, because I think the analogy, if we take it to say physics, everything is potential. Energy has potential. So your bank balance today is not the bank balance for tomorrow. If you think negative, it'll go down. But if you think positive, it can drastically increase overnight.
Absolutely.
Potential.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So, you know, it's all about what frame of mind you are, right? As long as you keep a positive frame of mind about at the end of the day, everything is about you, right? It's like whether you're running a business or something, you are the person responsible for everything. And it is all about what your mental status is, right? And if you have a positive mind, you have a feeling of positivity into you, that will reflect on the business's success as well, right?
Correct. If I can ask you a final question, because
Yeah.
you're involved in many businesses, you're in the office every day, you're dealing with 250 employees. How do you find the time to balance work and family? Because especially in the business that we're in, the energy of the work can consume you. There's always work to be doing, and especially in sales, there's always sales work that you can do. So how do you balance family and work?
I think the important thing is scheduling, like,
Yeah,
priorities are. I am 9 to 5 in office. I don't think about house. When I come 5 o'clock at house, I don't think about business. Like, I'm all there, right? So all
yeah,
for the kids, all for the family, parents, wife, right? And like, you need to prioritize, right? Like, life, yes, business is important, money is important, but family is much more important than that, right? So, like, prioritize your things, make a schedule. Like, there I have I'm like on a board of directors for about 8 businesses, right?
yeah.
So I have my weekly board of director meetings for every business, and then you sit on it. 1 hour you give it, you talk about the issues, whatever you need to do, your part, you go and do it next day, and that's it. Then you know what, just leave it where it is. Then we talk about that next week, right? Like, you have to give a certain amount of time to everything, but don't give more time or don't give less time. Like, whatever is decided, you just give that much time, right? So
And be firm with the time. So, don't
absolute
stretch.
time management is the most important thing. We all have 24 hours, right? And I want to spend 14, 15 hours at home. Like, so obviously you have 8 to 9 hours to work, right? And then you just decide what you want to do in that 8 to 9 hours.
And who knows, maybe, we'll come to a point where physics will give us, 26 hours in a day. You never know. So
Yeah, we have to create it, right? So
listen, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your experience with us. If anyone wants to get hold of you or contact you for any business information, where's the best place they can reach you?
well, now on my email, probably it's hiren.patel@ams.house. And definitely I can help out anybody who is looking for any information.
Okay, great. And I'll post that in the show notes. And once again, thank you for coming on the show, and I wish you well.
Thank you for inviting, Croydon, and have a wonderful day. And we'll see you in a couple of days. Okay.